Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it so much. Today I have a video that's based off of a request to do some of the top things that I would love to see in Gotham Knights. And I decided to start just, kind of chipping away at some of these topics by highlighting one of the villains that I would like to see appear in Gotham Knights. And for those of you who are maybe in tune with what I'm doing, the footage that you see on the screen is pretty much showcasing what this villain is about. And if you know the storyline of Gotham Knights, you've reduced it to this one villain who was in Arkham Knights that was not given proper treatment, but was used more as a shadow of what the threat actually was. And that villain is the Scarecrow. Now, when Gotham Knights was basically announced, what we kind of thought about was the Court of Owls were going to be basically the main villains. And to me, it seems like that's the case. But at the same time, the way Batman games actually function, they do a multi-villain insurrection in a sense. And you as Batman has to actually put down all those insurrections at the same time. In Arkham Knight, they made the Arkham Knight kind of the major villain that Batman didn't know. Yet the Scarecrow was the villain that he knew, but seemed to be running the show. But apparently when the writing was now simmered down and reduced to like the lowest common denominator, the Scarecrow was not necessarily kind of fleshed out to the way that I felt was satisfactory to the audience. I think he was just a face for them to be able to use as a recognizable character to then sell the Arkham Knight himself. Now, this may be overly simplistic. I could go back and, basically talk more about this, but, it's just my opinion nonetheless about this. And so I believe and I feel that the Scarecrow can play a very crucial role in Gotham Knight if well treated, and actually can be used to challenge the Knights to a different layer of one of Batman's biggest and I would say more of a landmark enemy NPC in his own rogue gallery. Now, what do I mean? Well, the Scarecrow himself is more of a cerebral character. You're not necessarily going to have to deal with a lot of that melee combat or whatever it is. He will have minions. He will have, all kinds of systems set up to disrupt and basically carry out his plans. And you will have to, in a sense, defeat him in order for you to be, successful. And the way that Batman defeated the Scarecrow in Arkham Knights was basically from winning just a big, huge mind win over him. Now, I think that was actually a decent part of the Scarecrow's appearance nonetheless. But like I said, a lot of other things were lacking. All you did was just hear his voice over, your some comms and all that stuff. Didn't really seem like the villain was on your case a lot. Instead, the Arkham Knight was kind of like, his, I would say, attack dog on the Batman himself. So it just seemed like he had the Arkham Knight on a leash for a while and then eventually unleashed him towards the Batman, and then somehow the Scarecrow kind of sort of faded out of the project in a sense. And I feel like, the Scarecrow will provide a cerebral and a mental challenge to the Gotham Knights if he were to be actually unleashed upon them. In fact, I read a comment from one of my audience members. I can't remember necessarily who that was, but they were saying, can you imagine if the Scarecrow were to actually challenge a character like Jason Todd, the Red Hood, and bring up all kinds of memories of his greatest fears, basically bringing him to the brink of him turning against the Gotham Knights, and you as the player will have to face that conundrum and potentially win against the Scarecrow trying to basically warp Jason's mind and basically dig up all the dirt in his life from the past experiences that he's had. Think about that. I think that would be a really nice way of retelling that relationship of the Scarecrow and Jason Todd himself. Whereas in the Arkham Knight, the game itself, the relationship that you see here is kind of like a master attack dog type relationship where basically the Scarecrow is using him as kind of a right hand weapon to wield against the Batman, rather than now the Scarecrow himself trying to basically convert the Red Hood himself and use him as a weapon. I think this is an this is an unexplored area that probably needs to be highlighted in the Gotham Knights game, and that's why I basically came back to this particular place where the Scarecrow had the opportunity to be in a game and form a better relationship with, the Arkham Knight, but never necessarily did that. I wonder if he now became a thorn in the side of the Arkham Knight, and the retelling of the story basically represents and highlights what a relationship can be from a different dimension. So this is the one character that I do basically, I would vie for. Basically, if you ask me what character do I want to see in Gotham Knights as a villain, I would go for the Scarecrow. Another layer too that can actually, be highlighted and showcased is pretty much the fact that the Scarecrow can basically use his fear toxin to basically allow for people to face their worst fears. Another character that I feel like he can basically leverage, or in a sense try to overcome using this tactic, is Barbara Gordon, the Batgirl. And for those of you who know, this particular timeline of the Gotham Knights game is actually highlighting Barbara after she has been basically healed and resuscitated from her injury that made her paralyzed for a little bit. And so he could be the person that tries to maybe trigger these emotions in a weird way, where they maybe run and go fight him, and they're having all these different visions, they're having all these different psychedelic encounters, and something really dark and spooky that comes out of it. And you, as the Gotham Knights, if you're playing whichever character in the story, you have to face your fears when you go deal with the Scarecrow. I think this is how you can leverage the character, and I genuinely believe that if they do this with, the game, players are definitely going to be excited about seeing this character fleshed out. Now, this is just one of a multitude of characters that I feel need to be in the game as villains. And what I'm going to do is, over the course of the next few weeks or so, I'll try my best to pinpoint and highlight the ones that I would prefer to see and exactly why, from a story perspective, maybe highlight or touch a few gameplay aspects. But those things are really, limited to what the developers are willing to put out there. Who knows? He may be a DLC character or something. Well, DLC is kind of iffy, but it may be a boss that you get to encounter over the course of the game, and it will be really nice if that were to correlate with everything that we're hoping for in Gotham Knights. But I'll get out of your hair. Thank you so much for your time and audience. I appreciate you all so much. Hopefully we'll see in another video. Thank you very much. And if you enjoyed the content, go ahead and leave a comment letting me know what you think. I want to improve my content delivery as well for you guys, and some feedback will be really helpful in that sense. Take it easy. Peace.